Imagine this, you've already walked through half of your life, but have you ever asked yourself, have I truly lived fully, or have I just been existing? This video will reignite the spark that makes you feel truly alive. The question that wakes you up. Have you ever noticed how people sometimes confuse being alive with being awake? You can breathe, eat, even pay your bills on time, and still feel like a ghost moving through routine. That's the cruel trick, your body is running, but your spirit might be on airplane mode. Here's the thing. Science tells us that by the time you hit 50, your brain starts saving energy by automating almost everything. It's efficient, yes, but it's also sneaky. Your morning coffee doesn't taste like fireworks anymore, it's just liquid habit. Your walk to the mailbox? Automatic pilot. You could literally drive to the grocery store, forget the trip, and only remember paying at the cashier. That's how numb our days can become, but ask yourself, when was the last time you felt fully alive? Maybe it was laughing so hard your ribs ached. Maybe it was standing at the edge of a lake with the wind cutting your face and thinking, wow, I'm still here. Or maybe painfully, it's been so long that you can't even recall, and here's where psychology gives us a nudge. Studies on peak experiences, a term by Abraham Maslow, show that humans, yes, even at 70 or 80, can feel surges of deep joy, clarity, and connection. It's not about age, it's about being awake to the present moment. The good news? Those sparks can be relit, even if they've been smothered for decades. So here's the real question, the one I want you to carry as we journey through this video. What would it take for you to feel alive again, not just breathing, not just waiting, but burning bright, even for a moment? Because the truth is, you don't need to climb Everest or win the lottery. You just need to remember that life isn't a checklist, it's a pulse. And if your pulse still beats, then so does your chance to live fully. The silent ache. Picture this, you wake up, shuffle to the kitchen, the kettle whistles, and before you know it, half the day is gone. You didn't choose the day dragged you like a tired suitcase. That quiet heaviness? That's the ache we rarely talk about. Many people between 50 and 80 describe it the same way. I don't feel sad exactly, I just feel flat. It's not depression in the clinical sense. It's more like your inner compass has stopped spinning. Psychologists call this anhedonia, the loss of interest or pleasure in things that used to light you up. And it creeps in slowly, so quietly that you don't notice until one morning you ask, why bother? Science backs it up. Research from the Journal of Aging and Mental Health shows that as routines solidify with age, novelty shrinks. And novelty, by the way, is brain food. Without it, dopamine levels, the stuff that makes you curious, excited, alive, start dropping. Think of it as your brain's Wi-Fi signal fading out. No wonder things feel gray, but here's the sting, society makes it worse. You've probably heard the phrases, at your age, just take it easy. Or you've already done enough. Translation? Sit down, stay quiet, fade into the wallpaper. It's subtle ageism, and it robs people of their spark. The truth? Your ache isn't weakness, it's your spirit whispering that it wants more. Not bigger houses, not more money, but more aliveness. And recognizing that ache is the first step. Because pain ignored becomes numbness, but pain acknowledged? That can be the beginning of change. So the question isn't, why am I broken? The better question is, what is this ache trying to tell me? Because sometimes, the quiet sadness is not an ending, it's the alarm clock for a new beginning. The brain's strange autopilot. Let's play with an image. Imagine your brain as a sneaky butler. At first, he's helpful, he remembers where the keys are, he lays out your slippers, he keeps you from burning the soup. But over time, this butler takes over everything. He drives the car, brushes your teeth, even decides how your morning coffee tastes. Suddenly, you're not living, you're outsourcing life to an overzealous butler. Neuroscientists actually have a name for this, the default mode network. It's the system your brain switches to when you're not paying active attention. Convenient? Sure. But it's also the reason you can drive to the store, get home, and wonder how you got there. The brain runs on shortcuts, and those shortcuts can numb out the texture of life. Here's the kicker. Studies from Harvard show that people spend nearly 47% of their waking hours on autopilot, mind wandering through tasks. That's almost half your life blurred into background noise. And as you age, the brain craves efficiency even more, trimming away novelty. The result? Days that look copy-pasted, like someone hit Ctrl+C on Tuesday and Ctrl+V for Wednesday, but the brain also loves a curveball. Try brushing your teeth with the other hand. It feels ridiculous, but notice how your mind wakes up instantly. Why? Because new experiences activate dopamine, the feel-alive chemical. It doesn't care if you're learning Italian or just rearranging the living room. It only cares that you're breaking the pattern. So here's the odd paradox. The same brain that makes life boring is also wired to light up the second you give it something fresh. It's not that you're too old to feel alive. It's that your butler brain has gotten lazy, and you need to mess with him a little, because sometimes, being alive isn't about adding years, it's about stealing back the moments your brain keeps putting on repeat. The Wake-Up Jolt. Have you ever had one of those tiny, almost silly moments that jolted you awake? Like hearing an old song on the radio and suddenly, boom, you're 19 again, dancing barefoot in the kitchen. Or you're holding your grandchild's hand, and the warmth in that tiny palm makes the whole universe feel real again. It's not dramatic, but it's electric. Psychologists call this a micro-awakening. It's when the ordinary suddenly feels extraordinary because you actually notice it. In fact, research on mindfulness shows that savoring small sensory details, like the crunch of toast or the smell of rain, can increase life satisfaction by up to 20%. Not because toast is magical, but because attention is. One man I knew, retired and deeply lonely, described how everything felt flat until one morning he was walking his dog and saw the sunrise paint the sky like orange fire. He said it hit him so hard, he stopped in the middle of the sidewalk and whispered, "I'm still alive." It wasn't the sunrise, it was the realization. The ordinary became a doorway. Here's the beauty, you don't need to chase grand adventures to feel that spark. Sometimes it's as small as calling an old friend, tasting strawberries slowly, or even laughing at your own bad joke. The science of positive emotion granularity suggests that naming and savoring these micro moments actually trains the brain to spot more of them. It's like tuning the radio from static to clear music. So, maybe your wake-up call won't come as a lightning bolt. Maybe it will come disguised as a giggle, a flavor, a breeze on your cheek. The trick is to notice, to pause, to say, yes. This matters. Because the moments you wake up for, even tiny ones, are the ones that stitch your life together into something you can actually feel. The comeback story. Let me tell you about Margaret. At 72, she swore her best days were over. Her husband had passed, her kids were busy, and her calendar was emptier than a diet soda can. She told herself, "I'm just waiting it out." That phrase alone, waiting it out, was proof her spark was gone. Then something unexpected happened. One morning, while buying groceries, she overheard a flyer announcement at the cashier. A local choir needed new voices. She laughed to herself, "Me, sing? After 40 years? But she took the flyer home anyway. 2 weeks later, she walked into that community hall, heart pounding like she was on a first date. Here's the twist. Margaret wasn't suddenly a superstar soprano. In fact, her voice cracked. She missed half the notes. But she kept showing up. And something wild happened. The choir gave her more than music. It gave her connection, laughter, and a reason to circle Tuesdays on the calendar. A year later, she told me, "I thought life was closing in, but it was just waiting for me to step back in." This isn't just a sweet story, it's psychology in motion. Studies from the Journal of Gerontology show that engaging in new group activities at later ages can significantly reduce feelings of isolation and even improve cognitive sharpness. Why? Because novelty plus community is like espresso for the soul. Margaret's comeback wasn't about hitting high notes. It was about daring to re-enter life. And that's the point. Revival doesn't arrive with fireworks, it tiptoes in with a flyer, a phone call, a small choice. So maybe your comeback won't be a choir. Maybe it's gardening, painting, joining a walking group, or finally writing that messy memoir. The key is not perfection. The key is showing up. Because sometimes, life is just waiting for you to RSVP. The simple principle. Here's the joke no one tells you. Feeling alive doesn't require climbing Machu Picchu or buying a sports car in neon green. Nope. The real trick? Small actions, repeated with awareness. It sounds too simple, but that's why most people miss it. Think about it. Your brain doesn't light up because you planned a 10-year strategy, it lights up when you break the pattern. Behavioral science calls it the novelty effect. Even brushing your teeth with your left hand or taking a new route to the grocery store can spark tiny jolts of aliveness. It's not the activity, it's the signal to your brain, hey, wake up, something's happening here. And here's the principle, microshifts create macro feelings. 1 minute of slow breathing, 5 minutes of sitting in the sun, one phone call to an old friend, these are not small in the eyes of your nervous system. They're fireworks disguised as fireflies. Neurologists at UCLA even found that people who deliberately practice 3 new experiences a week, no matter how small, report higher happiness scores than those who don't. We're not talking bungee jumping here. We're talking tasting a fruit you've never tried, learning 2 words in another language, rearranging your living room. The principle is deceptively easy. You don't need to add more stuff to your life. You need to add more attention. When you show up fully, even folding laundry becomes a meditation, even sipping tea becomes an event. Life isn't measured in years, it's measured in moments, and moments expand when you notice them. So if you're waiting for the big thing to rescue you, stop. Instead, look for the small things that are already knocking, waiting for you to say, come in. Because the secret is not in adding years to your life, it's in adding life to your years. The practical how-to. Alright, enough theory, let's get our hands dirty. If you want to feel fully alive again, you need practices that actually fit into your day, not some guru's fantasy schedule. So here are a few science-backed moves you can try right away. First, the 3x10 rule. Psychologists suggest that doing 3 small things, each taking only 10 minutes, can dramatically boost your sense of vitality. 10 minutes of stretching while listening to your favorite music. 10 minutes of calling someone you miss. 10 minutes of writing down a memory that still makes you smile. That's just half an hour, but your brain gets fed variety, connection, and reflection. Second, novelty snacks. No, not food. Think of them as tiny experiments. Each week, try one new activity. It could be tasting a fruit you've never had, watching a documentary about something random, or learning how to say good morning in 3 languages. The point isn't mastery, it's micro-surprise. Your dopamine system loves surprises more than chocolate cake. Third, the attention switch. When you catch yourself zoning out, washing dishes, walking down the street, zoom in. Notice the smell of the soap, the rhythm of your steps, the sound of birds. Neuroscientists call this sensory grounding, and it yanks you out of autopilot into presence. And don't underestimate community sparks. Join a book club, a walking group, or even a local class. Studies from Stanford show that people who engage socially live not only longer but better. It's not just about avoiding loneliness, it's about having someone to laugh with when your voice cracks in choir practice. If this all sounds simple, that's the point. Being alive doesn't require grand gestures, it requires consistent nudges. Start ridiculously small, because the momentum of small wins snowballs. And if you ever doubt it, just remember, even a spark can light up the darkest room. The closing truth. So here we are. You've walked through questions, aches, brain tricks, wake-up jolts, comeback stories, simple principles, and practical steps. And now it comes down to this: being fully alive isn't about chasing some lost glory, it's about choosing presence today. Maybe for you, being alive means sitting on the porch and noticing how the evening air tastes cooler than the morning. Maybe it's holding someone's hand a little longer than usual. Maybe it's daring to laugh at your own clumsy dance in the kitchen. The size of the act doesn't matter, the depth of your attention does. Philosopher Howard Thurman once said, "Don't ask yourself what the world needs. Ask yourself what makes you come alive." Because what the world needs is people who have come alive. Even at 50, 70, or 80, you can be one of those people. So here's the chisel-sharp truth: life isn't waiting to be discovered. It's waiting to be noticed. And if your heart is still beating, you still have tickets to the show. That's your invitation. Don't just exist, live.